Hello everyone, and welcome back. HeirofCarthage here, and yes, this is the Old World mod campaign for the Tomb Kings. Now this is definitely not where I left off last. I played quite a lot. You can actually see the turn counter over here. I did that because there's a few things about this map that make it very fun to play, but probably very long to record an entire campaign on. And I didn't necessarily start this campaign with the intent of recording literally every moment from start to finish. More so, I wanted to use it as an opportunity to get familiar with the mod and let you all get familiar with it as well. This map is absolutely huge. In any case, the map has actually since updated. I had to actually go and switch the version of the mod to the old version because the mod was updated recently by Chaos Robbie to add even more settlements. So it's up from 666 to 685 settlements. An incredible number of settlements. Anyway, so I'm still playing on a version old one here. Otherwise, my game crashed in on loading. Now, you might notice I own Sartosa, albeit not for long. We're about to be attacked. And you might notice that there's a few other differences over here too. Namely that I pushed the Chaos Dwarves out of all their holdings here because I joined in a war against them with Belegar. Yeah, I believe it's Belegar for Clan Angren. Also, there's a Skaven Vermintide that decided to get started because we're so far in. And I just got finished absolutely face-rolling Techless completely out of existence over here. So what happened? I have a couple of highlights for you from this time. Those highlights do not include Techless because, unfortunately, he just didn't put up much of a fight. He kept breaking agreements with me. Like, first he started with, like, ending a trade agreement, and then he ended an military access, and then he ended a non-aggression pact, so I knew that he was about to declare war. And so I basically prepared, and I stuck 5 armies on his borders and just smashed him. Now, right prior to Techless attacking me, I had been attacked by Volkmar, and he was a pretty significant threat. I only had 2 armies to face several of his. We'll see a highlight from that. But prior to Volkmar even, Sartosa had taken over a small area over here, and I had to take it back off of them and push them out and come out and take their island in order to extinct them. That said, Sartosa was an interesting battle. So I'm going to skip over to a couple of highlights for you all and show you some of the battles that took place that got me here, and then we'll play a little more. I'll give you a little background here in the loading screen. As you can see here is the Battle of Bafardo, which was the island on the the settlement on the southeast of the island where Sartosa is at. And unfortunately, I cannot remember if Arnessa was present for this one. She may not have been. But in either case, the vampirates came and attacked me as I landed on their island, was attempting to do a little bit of replenishment. This was just a garrison, and this fleet master over here, a fleet admiral, this Reed Half-Mast. So he's over here. I had my caskets, one of which was Katep, and I decided that the best thing to do was to open fire on the vampires from long range. They do have mortars, which will give them some considerable range capabilities, but they're not going to really be great against me. You can see the mortars coming in. I think they actually have a carronade as well, and a carronade could potentially, yeah, there's a single carronade there. The carronade could be good against certain of my units, but I'm just going to try and bombard their artillery. Typically speaking, the Casket of Souls is quite good at bombardment, but at this extremely long range and then kind of the awkward up and over the hill angle that I had to fire here, I just wasn't scoring a lot of hits, unfortunately. It was very rare that I was obtaining hits. So I wasn't really thrilled with the way that this was functioning, and so I started to move around a little bit and look for a better position to shoot the enemy from. So I'm going to fast forward and show you that. See me move over. The good news is they're firing mortar shells at my single entities, which will do little, if anything, except for burn their ammunition. The bad news is I'm pretty sure... Oh no, it was a different army. I thought they had a character here who could replenish their ammo, but I'm thinking of a different battle. I did, by chance, hit those gunnery mob, which was good, and now the AI blobbed up some of its artillery, which is technically also good for me, but I continue to not land very good hits. As far as total targets, though, when fighting the Vampire Coast as the Tomb Kings, if you shred their range, the Vampire Coast isn't going to do well in an up-close melee, unless they came really built for it, you know what I mean? Like, they would need the big hermit crabs, a lot of Morn Ghouls, and a lot of other stuff like that to try and shred through a bunch of infantry. And that's just really not the way the Coast is going to fight here. A ton of Sirens actually would work to their favor as well. I don't have a ton of magical attacks in my army. So stuff like these deck gunners are going to be seriously dangerous, and their artillery is going to be seriously dangerous because it will blast up my infantry and my skeleton archers. These depth guard are also a little concerning, but I feel like they can be handled if we take out the main characters first. But yes, the Sirens and the depth guard, slightly concerning. Not something that I look forward to having to fight. There's several of them on the battlefield as well, so won't exactly just be a cakewalk. See the AI still kind of blobbing up their artillery back here. I continue to just kind of lob shots in here and try and get some hits, but again, you see this hill kind of providing a nice cover position for the Vampire Coast, unfortunately. So not exactly working out marvelous. Like, see the shot right there? I was trying to shoot something here on the hill, and the awkward nature of it just makes me miss. The casket has been pretty effective for me, but in this battle, it just wasn't. So that was one of the highlights here, is that I just had to kind of keep tweaking the positioning of the caskets and changing targets and hoping for better hits. So you're going to see their mortars here accomplishing little, even when they do hit me. But the good news is, like I said, they're wasting their ammunition, and that just resounds to my benefit here. So I'm going to move another casket over here and try opening fire at a different angle. It's still okay, but we did score a pretty good hit right there on the mortar. 2 pretty good hits in a row, actually, which is definitely a good target for me. But you can see I've used a lot of ammunition to try and figure this out, unfortunately. You do have a fairly limited amount of ammunition in these caskets. It is not something that goes on forever. And it is unfortunate, actually, that the casket doesn't get its ammunition replenished based on the number of kills you get. Like, so for every so many kills you get, it'd be cool to see the casket pick up ammunition. Same thing with the Screaming Skull Catapult. I think that'd be a pretty neat deal. The Hell Cannon, stuff like that. It'd be kind of neat if they replenished that way. The Skull Cannon does it, right? I don't understand why it doesn't happen with these. I think it would be a neat feature. Anyway, so the Vampire Coast decides to charge towards me, which is a little bit strange. I hadn't fully expected that, but I guess I was causing enough damage to them at range that they decided to go ahead and push here. Now, as far as the meat of the infantry in this army, fortunately I do have quite a few Tomb Guards. These are not the halberd variant, though I do believe I have one of those. The Tomb Guards won't be good against enemy armor, but they will be good against low armor chaff. And I've also used the Sun-Scorched Bones upgrades to get as much out of these as you can get. So you can see my melee attack and defense, weapon strength, all pretty solid on the Tomb Guard. I think I can get it a little higher still over the course of the campaign, but still not bad. Not bad at all. So as the enemy approaches, I'm going to have my skeleton archers be able to start shredding into their units. Just certainly good. I used a little magic here. It was a bound spell on Katep, just to kind of disrupt and do some damage to the Sirens, which it did do a lot of damage to the Sirens, and I needed that. So I'm going to fight from this somewhat defensive position, basically pull the Vampire Coast in and shred them up as best I can. They do have a lot of numbers, but see, like right there, those depth guard, it did not go well for the depth guard at close range. And those pole arms over there got wrecked, but there's a lot of guns headed my way, which is going to be problematic. They're going to really start doing some damage to me, so I'm going to have to push forward. I can't just sit back in the areas where I don't have range, but I also have to be careful. There's Morn Ghouls and these animated Hulks, so I am trying to brace my Tomb Guard. I did mention I had the one halberd unit right here. And then I've got some skeleton spears here. I believe that might be the Regiment of Renown. It is, so that is King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion. So these Morn Ghouls and animated Hulks are headed right into the meat grinder, which is fine with me. I used a banishment up front here again to just kind of disrupt the approach of the vampirate troops. And you can see me just still laying thick into them with all of my range fire, but they are returning range fire now. And it's going to be dangerous. They're shooting at the Grand Hierophant and the other casket. But you can see my Tomb Kings holding the front line nicely. However, I did have a unit of Nahakara warriors that's not holding the front line so nicely. Nahakara warriors are pretty good if you're really early into the campaign, but as the game wears on, they lack a lot of staying power because they don't have shields, and it ends up being quite painful. You can see the Tomb Guard, on the other hand, holding up much more nicely. More Morn Ghouls on the other flank, and unfortunately I don't have a great answer to him. You can see him actually just kind of pushing through my units and trying to kill Katep. Makes a lot of sense. He's a high-value target, and the AI loves their pull-through shenanigans, and it's somewhat working for them, unfortunately for me. I also had a Necropolis Knight. I swung that Necropolis Knight out wide, and it's out here ripping through some zombie pirate gunnery mob. And then I had a Nehekara Horseman that swung around from the woods and dealt with the enemy artillery. Nehekara Horsemen, you'll notice here, I have a lot of upgrades on them. They're a pretty solid horse unit. They're not amazing. They're pretty good, and they got the job done there. Now, that was only the first of 2 battles with Sartosa. I had another one with them later on where we met up with Aranessa. Let's take a look at that one. So Aranessa was not present at the settlement of Sartosa, but she had gone off and made a new settlement at Monte Castello, which is kind of to the east of where Sartosa was on the map, in what would have been like Estalia. I think Estalia. But in any case, that was where their last settlement was, and here we actually catch up with the Great Salty One, Aranessa herself, and we'll take a look for any changes in the army. Since then, I still have the Nehekara Horsemen, which again are going to be rocking some pretty good stats. I have a couple of Ushabti. Ushabti are actually, honestly, like, I mess with these guys, they're okay. They're okay when they get into an infantry blob. They're pretty disappointing outside of most other things. Not amazing, but they get the job done. But I've got 3 Tomb Guards with halberds now. Fair number of Tomb Guard. And then I've got a whole bunch of skeleton archers, and then I've also still got my Grand Hierophant here, and then I've got the Necropolis Knights as well. So a little bit of change to the army. Not a ton of change, but we will be outnumbered relatively significantly by Aranessa. The other thing, too, is that Aranessa is near unkillable on her crab here. She's going to be extremely resistant to damage. She had 135 armor, which is bananas. 10% ward save, 10% physical resist, so anybody that's not using magic attacks is going to be fighting through basically 20% ward save on top of 135 armor. So she's not going to go down easy. And then, of course, AI just seems to get a whole lot of extra protection sometimes in terms of melee defense. I can't prove that, and I've turned off the stat modifiers, but I swear it still happens. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. Maybe just get unlucky rolls against them or something. And they do have some deck gunners. I'm going to pummel the deck gunners with my casket. Aranessa is also making liberal use of ogre allies, so she has a lot of ogres mixed in, which they actually kind of have the look here. I mean, they blend right in with Sartosan troops here. These guys look like pirates, so I guess it's a perfect fit for Aranessa. Go out and hire the big guts to come in and help. But she's got some Rotting Prometheans, and there's some Johnny Depth Guard back here. And then we've got some Sirens, of course, and there's some deck droppers. I believe there's like a pistol variant, maybe. I don't know if they have the longer range or the bomb variant. And then some animated hulks. But she will be getting reinforcements. We're going to be heavily outnumbered. You can see there's another Fleet Admiral with pistol rolling in. You can see a whole bunch of Sartosa Free Company here. These are just the melee unit, kind of a cheap melee unit of mortal pirates that, of course, Sartosa has access to, different from some of the others. There's Morn Ghouls. See those looking relatively awesome there as well. And you can see some more Johnny Depth Guard here. And they're also going to have some mortars and other units that they're rolling in here. So pretty substantial reinforcements coming in from the Fleet Admiral. Fortunately for me, I've shredded one of the deck gunners, and I'm going to just continue to pour out damage with the caskets here as best I can. You can see just by the numbers, the enemy troop count isn't terribly high, but they do have a considerable force for me to face off with. And I'm going to need to play this one smart, mostly just because of Aranessa. But she's also got this gunnery wight here who can give extra ammunition, and will also be a pretty tough customer because these Hermit Crab units come with a lot of armor. It's interesting because the crab, of course, would have a lot of armor. I'm not really sure about the guy on the crab, but it counts the crab's armor. So the bombardment continues, and I'm pretty happy with that hit right there. We hit some zombie pirate gunnery mob. I'm just going to continue to hit targets hard and basically make Aranessa think twice about just sitting around. So I'm targeting the mortars. I'm targeting the depth guard and the gunnery mob, just anything I can put a good hit on, and I'm kind of rotating my targets to hopefully land some better hits here. And at this point, Aranessa decides, you know what, I've had enough of this crap. I'm going to attack the Tomb Kings. Look at this, they used a barrage ability back here. I think that was an army ability, and smashed up one of my skeleton archers. I hadn't even noticed that going off because I was busy targeting, but you can see here that I've been able to use up a considerable amount of my ammunition. I did not get a terribly large number of kills because I was at long range and the enemies were a little spread. But I'm going to go ahead and move both these caskets back. Oh yeah, looking good. So there we go, got the caskets moving back. Of course, this one's Katep over here on the right. They actually look really similar, don't they? Yeah, those are the two things. They do look very similar. I mean, Katep's got that little thing going on behind his neck there, the big armor stuff, so you can kind of see the difference, but boy, they do look very similar. So there we go. Katep's going to pull back behind friendly lines here. We're going to lure the vampirates in, and then try and use this similar strategy to just kind of feed it to them. The extra halberds are going to really be helpful to me here because there's a lot of large targets, especially with the ogres around. However, I've still got a fair number of these Tomb Guard without the halberds, and they're not going to love fighting all of these large targets. It's going to be a little bit tricky, in fact. I was hoping to maybe use one of my bound sandstorm spells on the sirens, but it's going to bring me perilously close to attack, and you can't move very quickly on the casket, so it's not exactly a great situation. Then I start to come under fire as well, so I decided to go ahead and pull back. These deck droppers wanted a piece of Katep really badly, and they look really cool up there firing, but they are going to get absolutely slaughtered here. My skeleton archers are going to make very short work of them. Deck dropper season is open, and I would say it'll put meat on our bones, but it's the Tomb Kings, and nothing's going to put meat on our bones. So here comes the ogres, and the ogres, definitely a nice pin cushion. They can probably absorb quite a few arrows, and they will be. So I'm happy to oblige their desire to be a pin cushion, and one of the ogre units gets absolutely dumpstered over here by my skeleton archers. But then I decide to focus all of my arrows into the vampire fleet captain, hoping that this will help start to chew up the leadership, so you can see him truly becoming the pin cushion. It is not going well. I've already taken off over half his hit points. Unfortunately for me, I have not focused any fire into Aranessa yet. We will work on her. She is, at least fortunately for me, heading straight toward, mostly straight toward a unit of halberds. Over here, I'm going to use my Lich Priest. I have a Lich Priest, Lore of Light. He's going to support with Burona's Time Warp and cause protection. I do have a Banishment, but it's very risky to use it this close to my own soldiers because it's one of those spells that is unfortunately unpredictable. And it's better used whenever you're blobbing with a single entity and not with multiple entities. So I'm using a lot of units over here to hold this flank. Aranessa is otherwise absolutely trouncing me over here. My Nehekara Horsemen and Tomb Guard are getting run over. I committed the other Tomb Guard in there to try and hold it down, but this is a very challenging fight for me at the moment, and it's not necessarily a whole lot easier over here. The Depth Guard and the Animated Hulks are combining for a brutal 1-2 punch with both armor piercing and anti-infantry, so I've got to dedicate the Necropolis Knights here in order to save me. So they're going to come in spitting their venom and using their spears to put down these Animated Hulks. The unfortunate thing is I'm still sitting on top of a lot of Depth Guard, so we're going to take some damage there. And then on my far left flank, it's still a rough fight out here. I do have the Tomb Guard halberds and some Ushabti, but we are up against another Depth Guard unit, so it is not going to be easy. My Nehekara Horsemen once again slip through the woods and come out right in the middle of the enemy artillery. Only the deck droppers are nearby to protect it, and they are going to be no protection against the Nehekara Horsemen, which are well upgraded. You see 65 armor, high leadership, good attack, pretty solid charge bonus there. Excellent sword cavalry for mopping up skirmishers, or in this case, artillery. Aranessa is absolutely folding me over on this flank. My Nehekara Horseman is getting buried. I've lost another unit there. She's got her Fisherman's Net going off. I've hardly caused any damage to her, despite all these units that have been attacking her. In the meantime, I'm busy trying to get some ogres out of my back lines and I'm still dealing with a few deck droppers that are up overhead, and my Lich Priest is getting a little bit lit up here, and unfortunately Katep has no help in melee because he's on a casket. That's the price we paid for the casket. Then there's guns that are free here too that started shooting my Shabti. So I'm gonna actually like a fight for my life here. I did not expect this battle to turn out close, but it is very close at the moment. And if I don't do something and get rid of Aranessa, I'm gonna get overwhelmed. I'm running out of tough units. My Tomb Prince is stuck now in a bunch of Depth Guard. You can see my Necropolis Knights, great against the animated hulks, but they're taking a lot of damage to that Depth Guard, and they're being shot. And I just don't have an answer to these handguns back here at the moment. So it's a bit of a struggle for me at the moment. See me trying to get rid of ogres, but I should have been targeting the handguns back there. Aranessa is starting to break through. She just decides to pull through as well. The AI loves to kill your spellcasters, if you can't tell. Look at them. This is the second unit they've pulled through my lines in an attempt to kill my spellcasters. Is it just me, or did they improve some of the effects in the game? Like, I swear the effects look better. Either that, or it's just been a long time since I've gotten up close. I don't know. But to me, some of the effects in the game look better. In any case, the Ogre's still fighting my Lich Priest. I just can't seem to kill the guy. I did use a Net of Ammon talk on Arness Assault Spite, and we were eating through, and we have a Sundered Armor, by the way, on one of my archers, but she just got a ton of armor. I used a Curse there, though, to pull a lot of it off, the Curse of Kassar. So we've gotten rid of a lot of her ammo, but she's running around like a crazed hermit crab, chasing my Lich Priests. Again, this is something the AI does. They are like a magic-seeking missile. They will ignore everything else in the battlefield as a threat to them and chase your spellcaster. I'm saying this, and I say it over and over again because it's kind of a hint. CA, I see that you did a patch recently. Appreciate said patch. Maybe you should look at this type of AI behavior too, you know what I mean? It's good to go after a spellcaster, but not at any cost. Aranessa could have caused way more damage to me. Like, for instance, I can't run away from him with Grand Hierophant Katep, but instead he's chasing a Lich Priest, where she's chasing a Lich Priest, which is too fast for her to catch. So, again, just a little bit of decision-making might make the AI considerably more dangerous. So I'm not pooping on the idea that you attack the enemy spellcaster, but priorities, folks. Yeah, so this battle, like I said, it ended up being far closer than I wanted. Without any other support, my Tomb Guard Halberds can't hold up against the Johnny Depth Guard. These guys are extremely good against infantry. Got a lot of attack and a lot of armor. And so I'm struggling over here, and then the ogres are back. They keep coming back from routing. Not a good situation. So my left flank essentially has gotten wrapped up, and my Tomb Prince, who is better against large when he's on the skeletal steed, has instead of been fighting something like Aranessa, he's been stuck in this battle with all the Depth Guard. Now, don't get me wrong, Aranessa one-on-one would have killed my Tomb Prince because she is just insanely tanky on this Hermit Crab and has been a real mess. Like, even surrounded by halberds here, and I keep forcing the halberds to just continue to surround and pour in the attacks. There's another Net of Ammon talk. I got a Barona's Time Warp over here, trying to get extra attacks in. It's working, but it took a lot to pull down Salty. And there she goes, her Salty Crab finally on the ground. She is brined, though. So the nice thing is we put her on the smoker. We can make some salt jerky. Everything is desiccated and salty in Khemri anyway, so it's kind of the perfect thing. I'm now able to charge everything else over here, and I was thinking at this point, hey, the battle's over. I killed Salt Spite. Sweet, they're all going to chain route. One problem. Salt Jr. is out here, aka Petey Elsom, the Gunnery Wight, and he's like, you know what? I don't care if Salt Spite died. I didn't like her anyway, and I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna keep shooting you, and yeah, come fight me. I've got 120 armor, and I'm thinking to myself that I really have nothing to fight him with, so I'm gonna use a little bit of Shim's Burning Gaze. They definitely improved the effects. The game appears to have better lighting effects. Or something. They've done something to the lighting effects in Skyboxer or something. I don't know what it is, but it looks better. Either that or the modders did. I don't know who. It was CA or the modders won, but it looks great. But in any case, so we've got the old crab here. It's under heavy fire. I've only got a little bit of ammunition left, though, and the armor on this crab is going to make this difficult. So I just don't have the range to take him down with. Plus, he's shooting at me. I had to move my Lich Priest way back up away. And I brought my Tomb Prince in with Desert Strike, which is going to give him a lot of extra stats. And I'm still just, like, not having any effect on Petey. Like, Petey just ain't having it. Petey says, leave me alone. I'm a salty crab. There's nothing you bony boys can do about it. Shh. These animations are awesome. So I had to pull my Tomb Prince out because he's getting absolutely tanked, and I pulled him out too late. So he's going to crumble, and I'm going to lose my Tomb Prince here. Fortunately for me, only a wounding. I do have the immortality trait on him, but still very frustrating. So this ended up being an insanely tight and costly battle, and I'm still not even really sure if I'm going to win, because Petey just refuses to die. He's not even down to half health at this point, and I am running extremely low on ammunition. I don't have a lot of magic left. When I do, I'll use a Shim's Burning Gauge, and I've only got the single Tomb Guard with Halberd left. This unit should, theoretically, be able to damage old Petey quite well, but it's low on hit points, it's low on leadership from a long fight, and you can see Petey is just pulling through and trying to ignore that anyway. So I'm going to use everything I have to try and fix Petey. At this point, I kind of think the AI was pulling through to come kill my Lich Priest, so I moved the Lich Priest out of the picture. Look, all my Necropolis Knights died as well. See, this was a costly battlefield. But yeah, look at all the nice little touches and stuff here. You can see the electricity kind of still going through them. So I'm going to use all the buffs. I'm using everything I can get. I've got Dejaf's Incantation. I'm just doing what I can to keep these halberds fighting hard, and to take big chunks out of old Petey. And finally, the power bar swings and Petey crumbles. What was a very, very close battle. And thus, Sartosa was defeated. After defeating Sartosa, I was feeling pretty good about life. And then suddenly, here comes Volkmar the Grim on his giant pimp wagon to come ruin my day. And ruin it, he did. He attacked me, even though I had an army and a full settlement garrison, a rather large one. I get attacked by 3 armies from Volkmar. It's going to be a rather brutal fight. It's going to be a while before my troops come in. Volkmar is going to have significant resistance, especially missile resistance, and he's going to be healing. So we can expect it to be extremely difficult to take him out of the fight. I'm going to move over here on the Volkmar wagon and show you the significant, that's 25% missile resistance, 20% ward save, so he's going to be very resistant to missiles, and then there's a 40% spell resistance, so it's not going to be easy to do like a single, like entity damage spell. That's assuming I even have one here. I'm not really 100% sure I do. This is not Katep's army, by the way. This was one of the newer armies that I had raised up. I've got Team Thutep here, which is one of the dynasties. I forget exactly which dynasty. Get you a close-up on him real quick and check him out. Oh, he's disappearing. He's got invisibility. So, old King Thutep here. Let's see if we can get his, marker on here. So, nothing special in terms of melee, but, good. Good armor, shield, leadership, charge, all that kind of stuff. Just not a ton of AP. Like, when I say a ton, he's not over 50% AP, so it doesn't show it. But he does have a decent bit of armor-piercing damage for King Thutep. And as far as his heroes that are with him today, he's got a Tomb Prince, a skeletal steed here. And then I do have the Sphinx of Uskaf. This was unlocked in the Regiment of Renown pool, and this unit is looking particularly awesome. This will be a good unit to help tear apart Volkmar. However, if it gets stuck fighting Volkmar and gets shot, that could be rather bad. We wouldn't want that. I do have a couple of Ushabti. I've got some horsemen that can help out. A couple of Nehekara horsemen, some chariots. So I do have some of those available. And then I've got these Necropolis Knights as well as some Sepulchral Stalkers. So we do have some different units here that will come in handy. I do have a couple of Ushabti Greatbow, and they were out taking shots at an Empire Knight, and were rather successful, I might say, at killing some of them. So they killed off about half an Empire Knight. Whatever damage I can do from range with the Ushabti is good. They will be okay against Volkmar, but remember, he does have some missile resistance that we're going to have to watch out for. So here comes my reinforcements. I'm going to get them lined up. The chariots came in with the reinforcements. I'm going to have a fair number of Nehekara warriors and some more Tomb Guards that are coming in, as well as some skeleton archers. See, there's the Nehekara warriors rolling in with their dual swords. And then I've got a Screaming Skull catapult, which should be good at hitting enemy archers or expensive infantry units. So we've got that Screaming Skull catapult there. But yeah, other than that, that's just about it. I mean, we don't have anything amazing. In fact, I do have magic, but it's very limited. I think all I have is the Net of Amontok and Shim's Burning Gaze here. So, and remember, the Volkmar is fairly resistant to stuff like Shim's Burning Gaze. Now, as the enemy approached, I definitely wanted to get their attention, so I rolled these archer chariots that came in my reinforcements, and I wanted to go see if we could lure some units in early, rather than allowing the AI to come face me all at once, which would be best. You always need to do some baiting action, and you can usually bait the enemy into chasing some units, and that will end up giving you a rather large advantage if you can pull those units in and kill them piecemeal versus fighting them while the rest of the army is in place. So watch this. I'm going to hit fast forward, bring the chariots up. I start shooting swordsmen. There's a warrior priest over here, which is a target I would really love to lure over here. And then Volkmar actually comes and takes the bait himself, along with this archlector. So I'm just going to keep shooting them, and you're going to see me kind of just bait them continually. I'm going to stay right in their face. You got to be careful here. You don't want to get caught. There's huntsmen, all kinds of stuff popping up. At this point, though, Volkmar's not too far ahead of his army, so not great for me, but I did get his attention, and I am able to pull him up at least a little bit early. And so, despite his missile resistance, I'm going to go ahead and open fire on him with my Ushabti great bows and these chariots. I mean, at least if nothing else, I'll be hurting his ability to heal. And those Ushabti great bow did not seem to be phased by his missile resistance, so that definitely seems to be my best option in dealing with him. It took a huge chunk out of him there. Comes another volley, and it took another big chunk out of him. I do have my Tomb Prince and Thuatep, who I'm hoping to do a little bit of work. There comes one of his banishments. I managed to dodge most of it. I can't afford to get chewed up with a banishment. I know it's extremely important that we get rid of Volkmar right now. Now, he has a potion of toughness as well, which is fantastic, as if he didn't have enough healing, he's going to be doing even more healing. You can see in melee, it doesn't go so well for me. He is healing way faster than I can deal with, and that's despite the fact that he's hit with the Helm of Discord. So I am slinging everything I can at him. I should have just honestly pulled back and kept pounding him with the great bows. I just didn't want him to charge into my infantry line and make a mess. I've got the Screaming Skull Catapult targeting greatsword. You can see I took a good chunk out of this one. I believe that was a Huntsman General using his special shot on us there. Yeah, my Screaming Skull Catapult's going to be going for the great swords at the moment. I brought the Sphinx of Uskaf out, thinking, man, this will cut right through Volkmar in a hurry. So, we'll see. I managed to start cutting some good chunks into him. We've definitely taken a big chunk out of him. You can see his healing can only go so far at this point, but he continues to heal at an extremely rapid pace. I want to say it's like at least 6 per second that he's healing. So it's brutal. The Screaming Skull Catapult's doing absolutely fantastic work on the greatsword. You can see all three of them, a giant chunk of health removed. But at this point, the Huntsman and the guns are all close enough to start putting some fire into the Sphinx, and Volkmar just refuses to die. And at this level, like, I keep chopping into him, and he keeps healing, and I just can't seem to pull him down fast enough, so my Sphinx starts to come under fire, which is definitely bad news for me. And then this Archlector plows right through my lines and gets into my Ushabti Greatbow. I'm going to pull away from that. And then you can see I'm getting charged by the Knights, and we're getting collapsed on by a huge number of Empire forces here. They outnumber me by about 700 entities. And my Tomb Prince had an attack order on this Drakwald Riders and followed them out. I didn't have it on a defensive stance, and it's now stuck in a blob out here, and I'm not going to notice that for a little while, so that was a huge misstep on my part. Now, the rest of my infantry have a defensive order. I should have put it on all my units. And look at this, my Sphinx of Uskaf starts getting absolutely ruined by Huntsmen, and I have to run away, and Volkmar still lives and starts to heal more. So I had him basically on the ropes, but I was going to lose my Sphinx really early. So Volkmar unfortunately gets to come in here and spend some time healing. He dropped another banishment, which didn't do a lot, fortunately. It may have hit some of his own guys more than mine. And I did manage to do what I hope will be clutch out here, which is to swing my cavalry and chariots out from behind my infantry line and avoid the enemy infantry. And my goal is to get in behind the enemy here. They have a mortar crew moving up, and they have an absolute crap ton of Free Company militia, huntsmen, crossbows, archers, you name it, they got it back there, and it's shooting me, and I'm doing very poorly. In fact, the power bar is really hating me right now, and I'm losing a ton of units. It is not looking good for me at the moment. Volkmar just won't die. He's up to 500 hit points despite being in combat against spearmen. It's not going well. This is not what we wanted, not by any stretch of the imagination. My Tomb Prince, I barely get him out of there alive, and I am in a just dead rush here to get my cavalry all the way around the back and then into these units, so I've got to move quickly because the battle is deteriorating. The only good thing is that the Realm of Souls is full, and I'll get a new Shanti summon here shortly. Whether it'll do me much good, we'll see. I've already got units over here you can see that are crumbling because of the leadership. It's just not going well. There's a huge push here by 2 warrior priests. I'm having trouble pushing them back despite the support of the Sepulchral Stalkers and King Thuatep and the archers and everything, or sorry, the Nehekara warriors and Tomb Guard. You can see a Tomb Guard unit here already gone. It's just not going well for me, not at all. So in any case, Volkmar, I think, did finally... No, he came into the back lines, fortunately for me, and when he was stupid enough to come in the back lines, the Sphinx finally got its second chance to finish him. And with Volkmar dead, I was thinking, all right, that'll help stabilize things, but the Empire had a whole nother army. Look at this, they continue to get reinforcements, and it's pushing the power bar further and further against me constantly. There are like 1,000 entities ahead of me right now. It is not a good situation for me. Now, one thing that was a good situation for me is my Nehekara warriors are sweeping in like a sandstorm from the desert and absolutely crippling the enemy archer lines. I mean, we are just causing tremendous damage to them, and I have yet another Nehekara warrior. This is the Storm Rider, by the way. You can see its electrical powers there from the bones charging in. So the Storm Riders here as well. These units are going to get a tremendous number of kills up against archers and all these soft targets back here. It is definitely paying dividends for me. The only thing I wish is that I could have gotten it here sooner. I summoned Ushabti, kept an archer and Free Company busy as well. One of their spearmen comes in, though, and starts to mess with it. But the more of these units I can kill, the better. And you can see that I did reduce their number of units to an insane degree. That's just a Nehekara warrior that was not a lord, by the way, that's crumbling there. And I'm using the the Sphinx of Uskev to cause terror routes, and then I'm forcing these units right off the side of the map from the terror routes. Yeah, so the Necro Sphinx is absolutely critical to me at the moment. If I don't have it, it's going to be extremely difficult to keep these terror routes going. And even as I do terror route the enemy troops, I'm struggling mightily because the AI gets their troops back near immediately. So like they'll get terror routed and then just turn around and come right back to fight only moments later. And then I can't finish off the power bar because for every unit I force off the map, it just starts bringing in full units, and some of them even have ammunition. You can see the power bar still souring against me, and just look at the numbers here. I've still got, I'm outnumbered 2-1 still, and worse than 2-1 as they keep coming in, and so it has just been an absolute struggle for me. And I'm, like I said, doing everything I can to get rid of them. They still have leadership too, which is making it hard, and it's leaders that I can't quickly or easily kill, like the Huntsman General or the Witch Hunter. I come in and smash out more troops and send them right off the map. Sepulchral Stalkers combining with the Venom Knights, they have a scare effect, which is pretty effective here, where the AI doesn't have their leaders. And my Sphinx, the Sepulchral Stalkers and the Sphinx are just under fire almost constantly. I'm rolling my chariots through without stopping. My Nehekara horsemen are staying on the move, and I'm just slicing through all of the skirmishers that I can find, and then wondering, what in the world am I going to do about all these approaching troops? So I use what little bit of ammunition I have left in the Screaming Skull Catapult to continue to bombard upcoming greatswords and put as much damage to them as I can. My Screaming Skull Catapult has done a lot of damage, and it's going to continue to do a lot of damage in this fight. You can see it's actually quite useful against these tightly packed infantry formations. I decided to try and kill their Witch Hunter, hoping this will hurt some of their leadership. And then I'm also shooting at their Huntsman General, again thinking, man, if I can cut the throat out of their leadership, I might be able to finally run these guys off the map. But look, they are still coming in as reinforcements in the back. It's just absolutely soul-crushing to me at the moment. Every time I see another one of these units come in, I'm still operating outnumbered over 2-1. And there's multiple heavy cavalry units, and then more coming in. Knights of the Blazing Sun, Empire Knights, I mean, just track-walled riders, all this stuff. It's going to be extremely difficult for me to fight my way through. And my attempts to kill the enemy Witch Hunter fail. I just cannot get him dead due to different stuff. I did manage to rout the Huntsman General, but rout isn't dead, unfortunately. There's ogres coming up, and I'm just running very short on units. I'm running very short on ammunition, and the leadership is low for understandable reasons. My Ushabti have now used their ammunition. They'll double in melee to be pretty good, but they're not amazing. Skull Catapult, look at that though. It is amazing. It continues to crush infantry for me, so I wish that I'd had multiple Screaming Skull units. The Screaming Skull units actually also scare enemy troops. Hurts their leadership a lot when you get slammed by a giant ghostly head, apparently. My Storm Riders are still just absolutely crushing through the rear. Trying to get rid of all the archers that I can. You can see they've got 156 kills. My chariots are still screaming around here. But the problem is these incoming archers and huntsmen and everything, I'm going to have to keep falling back. So that's what you're going to see me do here. I have to preserve all the cavalry I can. Sphinx, I'm still using it for terror routes, and it gets a terror route, and then as soon as it does, those units come back from terror routing. So like, for instance, the Witch Hunter here gets terror routed, and then because of this stupid bug that CA won't fix, you just push units around when they're routing. So again, not ideal for me. A lot of my infantry, if it is still alive, is struggling with crumbling and being outnumbered. I do believe there's finally no more reinforcements coming, and I'm starting to even out the numbers. We're below 2-1 for like the first time this entire battle. And there's a whole bunch more troops back there. The Screaming Skull Catapult almost out of ammunition, but I'm going to use it to continue to just kind of poke away. See this blob of archers out here so kindly offering itself to me. It was very nice of them to double up 2 for 1 on my last bits of ammunition, so I appreciate the cooperation from Volkmar. It pushed me up to about 200 kills. Sepulchral Stalker's about to be gone, and my units that can cause terror are no more because the Sphinx of Uskef went down. Or sorry, it's almost down. When this is gone, I won't have any more terror-inducing units. You can see it almost working over here. But despite no leadership being nearby, I'm just really struggling to rout these units. But sometimes when I land a big hit, it's working. I'm trying to dogpile units and induce that terror route as quickly as possible. But again, you can see that it is still a struggle. Whatever infantry I have is trying to hold here in the middle, but my leadership is, far flung. It's difficult for me to do much about it. Look at Volkmar's wrecked wagon back here. I'm even gonna have to pull my Screaming Skull Catapult crew forward potentially. Fighting my way through Empire Knights. I've still got this blob of skirmishers that needs to die desperately. But I'm desperately trying to get rid of these Empire Knights over here so that I can go after them. Meanwhile, the AI is just pouring in and about to overwhelm the middle of my army. I'm about to lose this battle. And if I lose this battle, I'm going to lose many settlements because this army was, waiting on reinforcements. So it was kind of out alone at the moment. So those Knights of the Blazing Sun here. I've got my Necro Knights coming in from behind. I'm going to do my best to induce another terror route here. So I'm going to swing that Sphinx of Uskef all the way around. Look for the rear charge here. If I can break this blob with a terror route, I can probably finish this fight successfully, but if I can't, it's going to be over. I sent an Ushabti unit thinking surely they can assassinate the Huntsman General since he's just an infantry unit and they get a bonus versus infantry. Of course, lucky for the AI, the way those rolls work, again, he just manages to somehow just barely not die. He's going to rout, and my Ushabti's going to crumble away and fail, just 100 hit points shy of success there. Even though he gets knocked over again there at the end, he doesn't take any damage from it. Extremely frustrating position. So the Huntsman General's going to get away, but with him routing, the Sphinx of Uskef finally gets that final terror route, but it's crumbling now too, so it is not going to be here long, and I'm going to have to take really good advantage of this moment to push these units out. That Huntsman General just pisses me off that he's not gone there. But I am starting to get some headway, but again, the power bar just won't shift because look at the numbers. I'm back down to way under 2-1 here. Just really poor numbers for me because a lot of my infantry crumbled. So it is a very difficult situation. I'm trying to get that power bar back under control, and I'm in desperate need of a terror route. But there goes my Sphinx of Uskef. But right when it dies, A whole bunch of enemy troops routed over here on my left. So if I continue pushing them, I might be able to get them off the battlefield, which would start to swing this power bar massively in my favor. So you can see me attempting desperately to push these units further over here and push them clean off the map. You can see that power bar still a bit of a struggle for me, but again, these units are beautifully close to the white line. If I can get rid of that halberd, that greatsword, more halberds, more greatswords, like if I can push these off the map so I have a skeleton archer chasing them, and this is going to be the turning point here. Watch those units disappear, and you can see all of a sudden those numbers start swinging back to where I'm not outnumbered more than 2 to 1. That brings the power bar into balance here. And then as it starts to come into balance, I think the leadership of that then starts to set in for the remnants of Volkmar's forces, and then the power bar starts to pushing into my favor. And finally, I start to gain control of this battle for the first time. But oh my gosh, what an epic beatdown. Just look at the line of carnage here, folks. I'm going to zoom in over this one, just the field of skeletons and bodies. I mean, this is an epic battle, if ever there was one. Huge carnage. Even Volkmar's broken corpse back here in the background, laying there with his hammer. But I mean, that was absolutely epic. So there you go, folks. That's how I came to this position over the course of a couple of hours of playing through. My boys have been watching with me. They've been enjoying it. Some of you might be saying, Air, was there nothing interesting against the Chaos Dwarves? Not really. Drazoeth the Ashen was the one I was fighting against. He had one army that wasn't all that amazing, although he was very difficult to kill. I was worried about fighting them because they have a lot of fire damage, and Tomb Kings are probably vulnerable to that to a certain degree. So it was a little bit troublesome. I was very worried about Teclis. He had multiple armies, and I was very concerned because he started breaking all those agreements. But then, right after I defeated Volkmar, like you saw in that last battle I just showed you, I was able to recombine my armies to where I had like one positioned here, another one right here on the border, and I had another one like right here on the border, and then I had 2 up to his north, like here and here. I just put together an absolute monster of a pincer movement and took out, it was 3 turns, and I had taken, I think, like a dozen settlements off of him. And so that left Teclis with his only settlement back over here at Monte Castello. This is actually where I defeated Aranessa earlier. So yes, after I did all the work of defeating Aranessa, Teclis was all too happy to do the AI thing and just swing on in there and take the settlement for himself. At that point, I didn't really care because I just wanted them gone. But yeah, it was a very AI thing to do, and I'm sure that won't surprise you all. But yeah, so far, the Old World mod is a whole lot of fun. I highly recommend this one if you are looking for a new way to play campaign. It is a huge map, a ton of territory, lots of different factions, lots of different ones you can play if you use the Unlocker mod too. It's fun, folks. It's fun. You should definitely go check it out. But yeah, I did obtain a short campaign victory in the process of doing all this. But I may just kind of keep playing some of this off camera and see what it's like. To get to a long victory, though, I have to technically get all the way up here to the glacier. This tomb is a long ways, but a lot closer than the other one, and then we have another one way over here. So there are some very difficult to get to points if we ever want to defeat the campaign. That glacier one is way off in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, in any case, it's fun. Like I said, highly recommend this mod. Excellent work by Chaos Robbie, and I hope to see you all soon with some more action in Total War Warhammer 3.